All right. So we're continuing in this series on the book of James that we have called Faith That Overcomes. And we've been discussing James's secrets to actually living a victorious life. And even though James has been kind of rough on us at times, we have learned a lot about how to win at life, how to win at life God's way. And so James has covered, and he's covered trials and temptations, the power of the Word of God in our lives when we use it, not having favoritism in our hearts, making sure that our faith has action with it, the power of our words. And then last week, we talked about how to overcome pride so it doesn't make us fall. And also, if you want to catch up or if you missed any of those, you can go back to our podcast or YouTube page or even on the Church Center app and catch up. But today, James writes to the church that was scattered all over the region. He continues with another secret that he set up back in chapter 1. So let's go back to chapter 1 as he introduces this subject, and then we're going to skip back down to chapter 5 as he unpacks it for us. So if you remember back in James 1, when we were talking about trials and temptations, here's what he said. He said, let perseverance finish its work. So evidently, perseverance has a work to do in us. In other words, there's a purpose for it. And what's the purpose of persevering? So that you may be mature, complete, not lacking anything. And that's what I want. That's what we all want, is to be mature. I'd like to think I'm mature, but I would like to be mature. I'd like to be complete. I'd like to not lack anything. That's the victorious life that you want to live, that I want to live, that life that endures, that triumphs, that life that we win. And so he tells us that perseverance, it's got a work to do on the inside of us. So it sounds like perseverance and patience, they have a purpose in our life. There's a purpose to perseverance and pushing through to the victory that God has for you. You see, patience and perseverance, they're not burdens. They're actually blessings that lead to maturity, for fulfillment, and not just fulfillment for your sake, but fulfillment that lines up with God's will is, what our purpose is that He gave us, even in our mother's womb. And by the way, that's what the growth track is all about. You know, I know you saw the video a minute ago, but so many people are looking for their purpose. And I want to encourage you, if that's you, scan the QR code on the back of the chair, sign up, because it's about helping all of us find our purpose and our calling so that we can fulfill God's will and be mature anyway. When we're doing this, when we're fulfilling God's will, that's when we're doing this. That's when we're the most complete, the most mature. But that only happens with perseverance. But a lot of us think that patience just means passively waiting on God to just magically change your circumstances. Hand us the answers on a silver platter. And so this misconception about patience, just seeing it like this passive wait for some divine intervention, it's actually a common misperception in this microwave society, instant gratification society that we live in. And a lot of people, they view patience as this spiritual pause button, right? Where we just wait, not do anything. Just waiting for God to just swoop in and solve all your challenges without any effort on our part. We're just waiting. But as James will elaborate on, this actually misses the deeper, the transformative side of patience and perseverance. When we reduce it to just an action, we overlook the personal growth, for self-reflection, and all of those kind of things. We miss out on the virtues of, humility and perseverance. And look, patience is not about just sitting with our hands folded. It's about preparing and growing and learning while we wait. We think patience is just for the strong-willed people, right? When the rest of us, we don't have that iron discipline, so we should just give up with perseverance. But that's not right. Yeah, it's true. It takes strength to hold on and to keep going in difficult times. But James is going to explain further, this type of strength is something that we all have access to, perseverance. And there's this notion floating around. This is perseverance. It's kind of like this VIP room. Only exclusive superhero will-powered people can have. And society's painted this picture for us where only the strong people, only the preachers, only the pastors, only the ministers can be, can have that kind of strength. But I want to rethink that for just a minute. Because it's true. Isn't it true that some of the most profound moments of perseverance comes from not unyielding strength, but just a raw vulnerability to God? It's not about never tripping. Perseverance is not about never stumbling. Perseverance is about getting up, dusting off, taking the next steps, even if it's with shaky legs. Let me tell you a secret. Perseverance is not some innate trait that you're either born with or you're not. I'm impatient, he's got perseverance. No, it's a muscle. It's something that you can develop and grow. And every challenge, setback, or those not yet moments, right? That is our gym. That's muscle up. So if you've ever felt like, I'm just not that strong-willed, or I just don't have that superhero perseverance, remember this. Your journey, with all its ups and downs, is actually crafting a story of perseverance that is actually uniquely yours. As a storyteller, I love to think about our lives as this exciting movie where each of us play the lead role. You ever think about you ever watch a movie and think that? And you're like, I would love to be that character. But the thing is that it's not the unexpected twists. Think about your own story. Yeah, there have been those mountaintop moments as the hero, but those deep valleys of hardship, that's what makes their story interesting. Each trial and each triumph, those are not just passing events. Those are crafting this incredible narrative that's all mine, that it's all yours. It's a testament to your grit and your spirit, your resilience. Your journey, your pursuit, with all its ups and downs, it's creating a story of perseverance that's uniquely yours. And you don't have to compare your story to anybody else's. It's uniquely yours, and you don't need to compare it to anybody else. And it's a story, your story is a story worth celebrating. It's not about never feeling weak. Perseverance is about recognizing that in my weakest moments, there's an opportunity to find a strength that I never knew I had. That's perseverance. And my friends, that's something we all share. But here's the problem I have with patience. I have a problem with perseverance. And this is the problem that actually I think most of us have, is that when it comes to overcoming our struggles in our life, overcoming our challenges, when it comes to that thing in the future that you've dreamed of, that you want. It could be external, like a job or a home or a new relationship or a better relationship. It could be something internal as well, like overcoming the struggle of ourselves, where we feel like we're our own worst enemy and we want to overcome our own deficiencies. Our problem is this. All of us have this problem, and it comes in an age-old saying. It was a line in a song. And this represents all of our desires. I want it all, and I want it now. Let's be honest. This should be the unofficial motto stamped across our forehead, right? We live in a world of instant messages, fast food, next day deliveries from Amazon, right? We're conditioned to crave immediacy. It's like we're all part of this never-ending race where the finish line is having everything. And the timer, it's set to now. When do you want that delivered? Why do they give you a choice of when? You want it 7 days from now or tomorrow? I want it tomorrow. I want it all, and I want it now. And look, this is not just a harmless urge. It's symptomatic of a deeper issue that most of us struggle with, and it manifests itself in ways that can negatively impact our lives and the lives of those that are around us. For instance, for those of you that are single, okay? This now mindset, it could be really problematic because so many times we're in such a rush to find that right somebody that we forget to make sure we're preparing to be the right somebody. So you're in a church that's specifically designed to build strong families. And so if you're single, you might think, well, I'm not sure that that's for me because I don't have a family yet. No, but you will. And look, if you are just impatiently on the hunt for that right someone, if you get to make sure that you are the right someone, then you're not giving yourself the best opportunity to find that right person, right? Look, we may need to slow down and prepare ourselves. Not only so that you are somebody that somebody else thinks would be a good mate, but also so you'll be able to recognize a good mate. See, if I were single and looking, I would attend a marriage meetup. I'd sit in and I'd learn now so you don't have to learn the hard way. Slow down. Don't rush in. Don't rush into sexual relationships. Don't move in together. Don't rush to be to the altar. Make sure you truly understand each other first. Now, some of you have been dating for too long and it's time to go ahead and make the move. I'm just saying, all right? To somebody out there, you're welcome. But parents, look, we got to be careful too, because this now mentality can cause us to overindulge our children as well. Just giving in to every demand instantly all the time. And look, I know it's born from a good place, just wanting to provide for our kids. But what's missed is teaching them patience, the value of waiting, the satisfaction of earning. Right? Just by always meeting their every whim immediately, we might unintentionally be raising an entire generation that is ill-equipped to handle any kind of delay, any kind of disappointment, or even the concept of earning your own way. We've got to be careful. When we push for immediacy in our families, we can actually create unrealistic expectations. Right? It could be the pressure to have the perfect home, the best vacations, or even the ideal family image on social media, like all right now. It can strain family dynamics. This lack of patience can lead to financial stress when we spend what we don't have yet, a constant chase for the next big thing instead of just cherishing the moments that we have together. It robs us. And students, you got to be careful as well. Because in a world of like 30-second reels and instant fame and instant feedback, the pressure is immense. The need to get to, as crazy as it sounds, to get likes, to get noticed, that can become all-consuming. The idea of just working steadily, patiently toward a goal, whether it's academic, sports, personal growth, it can actually be overshadowed by this idea of instant recognition. This I want it now mindset can set you up for frustration and also a skewed understanding of our self-worth. And we all fall into this because it's essential to recognize the ripples that it will actually send across your life that are sometimes seem invisible. And let's not forget the age-old wisdom that often, in fact, most of the time, good things, truly fulfilling things take time. It's like a slow cooker. It's not a microwave. And sometimes in the wait, in the journey is where the magic happens. I love what Joyce Meyer says about it. She says it this way. She says, patience is not the ability to wait, but it's the ability to keep a good attitude while waiting. So many of us need that. I need that. But here's the question. How? How do I do it? Like, how do we cultivate patience in our life? And not only patience, how do we cultivate perseverance in our lives? How? How do we do it? How do I maintain perseverance even when I don't see any results or even when God seems silent? How do I be patient with others when they continually disappoint me or hurt me? How do I have patience but still set boundaries in relationships? How do I teach my children the value of patience in a world that demands instant gratification that even I fall into? How do we do it? And what's the difference between patience and just being passive or lazy, right? How do I strengthen my patience and my perseverance? Like practically, how do we do it? Because you don't want to pray for patience, right? Have you ever heard this? It's a common joke that you don't want to pray for patience because God's going to send you more challenges to build your patience. So we don't want that. But is that true? Is it okay to ask God for patience? Or is that just bringing more challenges? Because, Micah, I don't need more challenges. And here's another great question that I had as I was thinking about this. Are there times when it's okay to be impatient? Or why does it seem like other people get their blessings or their answers quickly and I've been waiting for years? I think we've all asked ourselves these questions or versions of these questions at one time or another. And I can guarantee that if you haven't, you're going to in the future. So how? How do I cultivate patience and perseverance in my life that I could be mature and complete? Well, James jumps into chapter 5 and he helps us with these very, very relevant questions. And listen, for those of you that you're here and maybe you don't follow Jesus, maybe somebody just invited you and they're sitting with you, I want you to know that even if you're still searching and you're not sure about Jesus yet, the secret that James shares with us in chapter 5, it applies to all of us. It will help you. If you apply it as well, I guarantee you that your life will be better. So let's see what James has to say. Let's actually look at James chapter 5 and starting with verse 7. He says, be patient. Thank you, James. Appreciate that. Therefore, brothers. So how long, James? How long do I have to be patient? How long do I have to wait? Well, until the coming of the Lord. Forever. James is writing to Christians that had to leave their homes because of persecution. That's who he's writing to. They've had to leave their homes, their jobs, their families, and move to a place that was actually hostile to them. It was a place where hardships were common. Persecution, struggles were common. They moved into a place that was actually racially tenuous to them. And even the people of their own race, they looked down on them because they had abandoned the Jewish faith, the Jewish religion, for this new thing called Christianity. So he's talking to people that were seen as traitors and outcasts, and James tells them, be patient. And their next question would be, all right, James, how long do we have to be patient? When can we stop being patient? And James says, until Jesus comes back. You're going to have to be patient. In other words, you're always going to have to be patient. And you better understand, if we're going to always have to be patient and persevere, we're going to have to understand it, and we're going to have to learn to be good at it, because we're going to have to do it till Jesus comes back. And that would be frustrating, except for next, he explains to them how to be patient. He actually gives them another key to living a victorious life, and that is to be patient, but he doesn't leave them there. He doesn't leave us there. He paints a picture for us, a picture that would be very familiar to his audience. He uses as an illustration something that they would know very well, and that is the illustration of agriculture or farming. And so he continues. He said, see how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth. And how does he wait? He waits with patience until it receives the early and the late rains. And then he reiterates, you also, like the farmer, you got to be patient. And I think hidden in this illustration are actually some keys to help us in developing patience and perseverance. But before we dig into his illustration, we all got to understand the why behind our patience. We got to understand why it's necessary to master patience, or we're going to constantly struggle, because we got to have it till Jesus comes back. And here's what I hope that we all go home with today. Here's what I want for us to catch, is that patience and perseverance are not burdens, but they're actually blessings that can lead to our fulfillment. They're not burdens. They're not just something that you got to endure. It's not like mosquitoes. It's just a part of life that you endure because you got to and you want to be outside. That's not what it is. No, as we'll discover, patience and perseverance, they're actually blessings, and they'll lead to a fulfilling life, a life of victory, a life of strength. Patience and perseverance, they're not burdens. They're blessings. And look, there's something profoundly timeless about this passage from James, because at its core, it actually speaks to a patience rooted in faith, rooted in expectation, beautifully illustrated through this metaphor of a farmer. So let's pop the hood on this scripture a little bit, and let's get in a little bit deeper. Think about a farmer for a minute. So he's planting seeds, but it's not just a one and done act, right? Planting seeds and being a farmer is a commitment. The farmer doesn't just scatter seeds and then the next day expect a bountiful harvest, right? No, he understands, and we understand that he understands the nature, the dance between sowing and reaping, time, seed, time, and harvest. He understands the waiting, that period where it seems like nothing's happening. And it's not on the surface, but underneath, things are taking root. And in fact, he talks about the early and the late rains that are crucial for the crop's growth. Now, I want to parallel that to our lives. Aren't we all, in some sense, farmers in the field of your own life, the fields of your families? We plant seeds. We plant seeds of values in our children. We plant seeds of love and understanding in our relationships, seeds of hard work in our professions. But in today's fast-paced world, so often we're looking for that quick result, right? We want the trick that's going to get our children to behave. We're looking for the investment or the side hustle. We're investing in what's the stock? What's the stock that everybody was all in? Yeah, GameStop. But just like the farmer understands the value of the early and late rains, we need to appreciate the different seasons in our lives. Now, when James says the early and late rains, there is an agricultural context in ancient Israel that we need to understand. Okay, in the Middle East, in the area that James is writing to them, the climate is characterized by two different rain seasons. Okay? First is the early rains. It's called Yori, is what they call it. And Yori is in the fall, around October to November, right about now. And then there's the spring rains called Malkush, and that is in like April. And these two rains were crucial in agriculture. And it's interesting that James says that the farmer has to be patient for these two rainy seasons because the early rains would soften the grounds after the dry summer and prepare it for plowing and sowing. And then the late rains, on the other hand, those were vital for growing the crops so they grow strong and through the harvest season. And usually, we don't like rain in our lives, right? We don't like the storms. We like the sun. We like it when life is good and the sun is shining and reggae is playing and the sun is shining. That's what we like. But the farmer knows he has to be patient for the rainy days because they have a purpose. Because if we know that there's purpose in our patience, and sometimes rainy days, then we can live victorious. And the point that James is making is that sometimes we have to wait for the rain to prepare the ground in our lives so that we're ready. And then we have to be patient for the rain that will develop and grow our God-given future. We got to trust in God's timing, even in the rain. And just like the farmer can't control the rain, but he trusts that it'll come, we have to trust in God's perfect timing in our lives. Because unfortunately, growth takes time. And the period between the early and the late rain, that's a time of growth for us. In the same way, we go through periods of spiritual growth that most of the time go through problems and challenges, periods of learning. And just like crops need both rains to mature, our spiritual growth, a lot of times it requires us navigating trials and blessings. So, but what do I do while I wait, Mike? I mean, okay, I get it. I got to be patient. What do I do? Do I just hang around? Well, no, because the farmer, while waiting for the rains, he's not idle. He plows, he sows, he tends to the crops, he prepares for the coming harvest in faith that it's going to happen. And that's why I say, if you're single, don't just pray and wait on a mate. Prepare for your harvest. Read marriage books. Go to marriage meetups. This applies to all of us. If you're praying for that promotion, don't just sit around and wish. Go ahead and train for it. Be faithful with what you have. Jesus actually said it. He said it like this, and this applies to our waiting period. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Micah, I'm not doing extra until I get paid extra. I'm just going to wait around till my harvest in Jesus' name comes. No, be faithful with little and you'll be trusted with more. That is when promotion comes. While you're being patient, show yourself as trustworthy to your boss, to God, to your parents. And parents, this might be patient while you're leading your kid through a rebellious stage, where believing that the things that you've instilled in them are eventually going to take root and produce a harvest. For couples, it could be believing that the relationship's going to emerge on the other side of this difficult time that you're going through. Or as an individual, it's understanding that your personal dreams, they don't always follow a straight path. And in fact, usually they don't. There could be periods of waiting, times of perseverance when it doesn't look like the seeds you've planted will ever bear fruit. But instead of letting doubt creep in, you pray the scriptures, you speak the word over yourself, over your family, over your loved ones that are far from Jesus. You pray the scriptures, you speak the word over your dreams and your finances and your country. And so in our quest for immediate results, don't forget the wisdom of the farmer. Because impatience, why is it that the promise of a harvest requires wait? Well, remember, good things, truly lasting things, most of the time take time. Be patient. It's not something that's innate in our culture, but be patient. I mean, we all know we need it. We don't like it, but we all know that patience builds character. In other words, it shapes my integrity. It strengthens my inner character. It builds character. It makes us stronger inside our heart and our true self. It builds character. Now, look, we don't like that. We would rather character come in an easier way, right? But we all know it. In fact, we teach our children this, don't we? For instance, when I was teaching Josiah to tie his shoes, it was a test of patience for both of us, right? It was hard for his little hands to figure it out. And I could see his frustration growing with every attempt. Every time that he'd fumbled, I had this urge to just step in and do it for him, especially when we were late or we were in a hurry, right? But I had to hold back and instead just sit with him and encourage him. It's like, you got it. Take your time, buddy. Remember how we practiced? And he would say, I can't, Daddy. And I would remind him, no, we don't say, I can't. We say, I can't yet. And with a lot of tries, with plenty of tries, he starts to get the hang of it. And teaching him patience and perseverance, it didn't just help him master tying his shoes, it actually instilled in him maturity, completeness, a belief in himself, and not to where he's not lacking anything. The same way God's trying to teach us to tie our own shoes sometimes. He's trying to instill character in us. He's trying to mature us so that we can have the confidence in him, that he's right there with us, that we can overcome challenges, that we can become mature, complete, not lacking anything because of our patience and our dependence upon him. You see, patience and perseverance, they're not burdens, they're blessings. They lead us to fulfillment. Paul actually says the same thing this way in Romans chapter 5. He says, look, we also glory in our sufferings. Now, Paul wasn't looking for suffering, obviously, but he knew he had to be patient because the process was beneficial. Because he knew that suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. And there it is again. In the end, that's what we're all looking for, is hope in our lives. And what that means is that there is a purpose to being patient. And when you understand that there's a purpose to your patience and your perseverance, it actually makes it easier to stand strong when it's time to wait in between the rains. Because tough times teach us to keep going, and that grit that shapes my character and leads me to hope, it's like working out. Right? The more you do it, the stronger you get. And God can give you more and more responsibilities, more and more promotion. It's like we're building up our spiritual muscles. So once again, James and Paul, they're saying the same thing. Once again, they're both like, hey, look, I know when life throws you curveballs, You got it. When life gives you those challenges, they're making your faith even stronger. So if we hang in there and we understand that there is purpose to our patience, then we can find ourselves feeling more complete, stronger, more grounded than ever. Because you see, it's all about growing and becoming the best version of ourselves that we can with the help of our Father. Patience builds character. It's got a purpose. But not only that, but patience can deepen your relationships. So in my own journey, I've come to realize the profound truth in Colossians 3:12 that actually says, bear with one another. Now, that's not a grizzly bear. It means be patient with each other. Sometimes we got to bear with each other. Melissa has to bear with me when I snore. She has to bear with me when I forget things, right? She's got to bear with me when I miss turns. Well, actually, because she has to bear with me when I miss turns, I have to bear with her when she helps me drive. One of the great things about being married is that you get a little helper in the car with you, right? She's such a great little helper. She knows everything about driving. It's very convenient for me because she's right there. Sometimes I get so confused. I'm just like, I don't even know how I get anywhere without my helper in the car. It's like, do you think I'd be bouncing off trees and buildings and stuff if you weren't here to help me? So thank you so much. Got to bear with it. She'll even tell me when the light changes color. Thank you so much. It's green. I appreciate that. Thank you. I didn't know. Patience. Here's what's crazy. We were traveling last month and we rented a Tesla. It was pretty cool. I'll admit. It would let you know when the light turned green. I thought that was so cool until I had a thought. Why is it so annoying when Melissa helps me when she tells me the light is green, but when the Tesla does it, it's cool. That's awesome. I don't know. But what I do know is that we've got to bear with each other. And I know it's funny, but there are many people who came close to divorce in situations in a car like that. We've got to understand. We've got to bear with each other and forgive each other. And if any one of you have a grievance against each other, forgive as the Lord forgave you. And we all know that we take a lot of patience. Paul is telling us we got to be just as patient with others as God is with us. And let me tell you, I take a lot of patience. And so therefore, I must give a lot of patience to those that are around me. I mean, think about our everyday relationships, right? Maybe it's patiently listening to your spouse just recount their day, even when you're exhausted, or persevering through misunderstandings with a close friend. We've got to nurture patience and perseverance in relationships and allow trust to grow. Patience and perseverance that helps us foster deeper connections. Patience, it strengthens relationships. And when we bear with one another in love and in grace, we not only mirror Jesus' love for us, but we also strengthen those bonds that actually tie us together. And it's much easier when you realize the purpose for patience and perseverance is making you the person that you want to be. So be patient, persevere, because the rain's coming, but that also means that your harvest is coming, whatever that means for you. Patience and perseverance are not burdens. They are not burdens, but they are blessings that actually lead to your fulfillment on the other side. Watch this, Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, there are people in heaven that are watching us. And since they're watching us, let us throw off everything that hinders us and the sin that easily entangles us. And let us run with perseverance the race that's been marked out for us. I can't tell you how much our culture has lost the art of patience, the art of perseverance. And this verse speaks to the importance of endurance and perseverance when it comes to living a life of faith, a victorious life that God has laid out for us. We need to focus on what lies ahead of us and keep running the race no matter how difficult that race becomes. And you can be confident that God will give you the strength to endure any hardship that you face in that race. He'll give you the guidance that you need to finish your race strong. And as you rely on him for the strength, as you wait for the things that he has for you, and when it rains in your life, and when the storm comes, we've got to understand that they have a purpose. You see, the rain signifies the promise of a coming harvest, and that's important. And James then closes this section by saying this: you also be patient and establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. And for the early Christian community that James was writing to, the coming of the Lord was a deeply anticipated event, right? It was an anticipated event that would bring salvation for them. And it's an event that we still anticipate today. And when he returns to gather his children, those who have called him Savior and believe that he is the Son of God and the only way to heaven, and for those that call him Lord and surrender their lives to him, their hearts, their minds, their ideals, their desires, surrender all that to them. He's coming back for those of us that surrender everything to him, because we know that in and of ourselves we'll never measure up, but in him we can have eternal life, either on his return or when we breathe our last, either one. Those are the people that he is coming for. And if you never surrendered your life to him and you would like to, after the service, there are going to be people at the Next Steps table to pray with you about anything. You could bring any prayer request to them. And if that's your prayer request is for salvation, I also want to encourage you to visit the Next Steps table after the service, or you can scan the QR code as well, and then go over there. But James is urging us to recognize the urgency of patience. The urgency of patience. Just like a farmer trusts in the eventual harvest, we're called to have faith that he's coming. And in the bigger picture that we might not see, it comes from our patience. So I want to close with this verse from the Apostle Paul. And I think somebody needs to hear this. He says, "Let us not be weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And I think somebody needs to hear that. Don't give up. The next time that voice says, "I want it all and I want it now, and I just feel like it's never coming and I'm giving up," I want to encourage you, don't ever give up. Because, my friends, sometimes the best things in life, they're not the things that we get instantly. They're not the things that we work. They're not the things that come so quickly. They're the things that we work for. And so perseverance and patience, they're not burdens. They're blessings that will lead to your victorious life. Will you stand with me?